Welcome to the After the Show movie podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Ascully and Cidtalk. We're addicted to movies. Are you? Good afternoon, Cidtalk. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you? Before the After the Show discussion.
I'm not great at all.
Bye, Greg.
Wounded.
Wounded, yes.
I might have less pep inside of me today.
Before the After the Show discussion for this week it's been going on for a few days because you, unfortunately, fell off your bike.
I took a spill.
You did.
I wish the spill would have been more dramatic. Because you're probably thinking, oh, he's probably on a mountain bike, going down a mountain, he flies off, and no, nothing like that.
I mean, you could lie and tell him a big, great story.
I'm not going to tell a lie.
Okay, good.
I've done my whole ride. How far? 14 miles, something like that.
Yep.
I'm going back to the car park where our car is. I pull up this little hill, and it's like gravel, like this car park area. And I decide to turn around there just to get to the car, and at about 1 mile an hour, I turn around, the bike comes out from underneath me, and I land on the floor.
It's so terrible. When I got back, because I'm always behind you, so I came back.
I'd been there a few minutes.
Yeah, and your bike was still sitting behind the car, which is weird because I'm always far behind you. And then I get back to the car. Your car's already been mounted on the back, and you're in the car cooling off, drinking water, listening to music. And I'm like, well, that's weird. And I parked my bike, and I'm like, I don't know, that was a good ride. And you come around, and you just look like super traumatized. And you said, I've fallen off. And you were just like rambly, and you're like, I just need to lie down. And then I need to put the bikes on, which I never do. So you coached me through that. And I mean, your arm was already swollen, and your knee was all bloody.
My arm was swollen that much. My Garmin watch, it was almost popping off my arm. I had to pull it off. Yeah.
And all you wanted to do was get home and lay down. So I'm like, okay, we'll just go home. We get the bikes on. We get home. And I mean, it has been bruised. And I insisted on taking you to check it, but you wouldn't let me. So we're just winging it and hoping it's just a sprain.
I mean, it is, because it started to heal, but it looks terrible.
It does.
Yeah. So
it's really bloody looking. I mean, bruised bloody.
Bruised rather than blood, yeah. I mean, some blood on my knee, but... So my message to you is always wear a helmet.
Yes.
Even though my helmet had no play into this injury. Wear a helmet anyway. You know, and I do always wear a helmet. I am safe. Do. But I will be very wary the next time I turn around at 1 mile an hour. I just wish I had a story to tell where I was going 20 miles an hour. But I might not have the story to tell in that case.
Just have to make it up.
Yeah.
So that is the whole before the after the show. The whole week has been this.
Yeah. So if I sound wounded, I am.
It's not affecting your voice. I'm just so you know.
All right. It's Saturday, August the 24th. This is After the Show. We're a movie review podcast. And this week, on episode number 853, we're taking a look at the movie Furiosa, a Mad Max story. It's a 2024 release, out now on 4K Blu-ray and streaming. It's rated R. Its runtime is 2 hours and 28 minutes, and it's from our friends at Warner, who sent us a copy of the 4K disc for review. Cidtalk, can you give us the synopsis of the movie, Furiosa, a Mad Max story?
It is an origin story of Ms. Furiosa, where she is traumatized and then kicks ass. Is that what it says on the box?
It does not, but I'll tell you what it says on the box. It does say something similar. It says, the origin story of renegade warrior Furiosa before her encounter and team up with Mad Max.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
That's correct.
All right, so Fury Road, Mad Max Fury Road, which this is the prequel to, was my favorite film the year it came out. It also won an Oscar. It's a fantastic movie. I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
You do?
Yeah. So I was a bit nervous about a prequel, but as soon as it started, I was in love with it. I don't know about you.
Oh, yeah. I really, really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I like anything that's sort of, dystopian. Is that what we're calling post-apocalyptic-ish? Where, I mean, if we know the story of Mad Max.
Not ish, actual.
Yeah, that there's been a nuclear
something.
Whatever, whenever it happened.
Yeah.
That's in the original story. And now the world and all of civilization, from what we see in Australia anyway, we don't know about the whole world, It is descended into, well, just what we would call now Mad Max times. Like really brutal and hardcore with lots of gore and what are you going to say? Like really mentally ill people in charge.
Yes, similar to today.
Well, no, it's not like today, but you know, that's kind of the vision. It's like a dark, bleak, bloody, Wild West of sorts, you know?
Yeah. It's awesome. It's the wasteland. It's weirdos. Weird shit's happening. Fuel is like a commodity because there's not much fuel. And people will do anything.
And we are talking about the wastelands here of Australia. So it's just like complete flat desert for hundreds of miles, presumably. And so we have these little pockets of power. So you've got the place that grows the food. Then there's the place that's the Citadel. And then you've got the place that has the gas, which is called Gas Town. And then you have the place that makes the bullets, which is called Bullet Town or Bullet something. And then you have...
I mean, why not name them? Easy to remember.
Yeah.
You know?
So those are your pockets of power with leaders who, you know...
Questionable leaders.
Questionable.
Yeah.
People leader. Who's people leader? Because I'm not sure if I know that when he's... You know?
Yeah, I don't know the names of people. They don't really throw them around a lot either, do they? In the movie. It's a similar premise to the first movie, Fury Road, because a lot of the action in the movie is a similar thing, right? It's a pursuit of some kind every time.
Correct.
But George Miller, he knows how to do a pursuit. They're very interesting. In fact, there are things in this one where I was like, oh, that's really... I didn't think of that. Like the octopusy thing. You know, the octopus balloon thing?
Yeah.
Or the people in hang gliders throwing grenades from above. It's very inventive, his vehicular combat that he does.
Vehicular combat? Yeah. Nice.
And I mean, it's really well filmed as well. I've always... It's almost like you're watching storyboards. Like it's very... graphic. Like you see Furiosa, you'll see behind her head looking through the windscreen as though you're in the car with her. And then the camera will go out of the window up above a truck in front of them and swoop around like almost like it's a drone. Who knows how it's all done? Is it mostly CG? I mean, I know he's not really a massive fan of CG, but there was a lot of CG shots in this movie apparently. But I know for a fact those vehicles driving in the desert were really there because I've seen a bit of the making of this. And it's spectacular to look at, like the other one was. I feel like when Fury Road came out, the original Mad Max movies were not at that level of visuals, were they? They were. So when Fury Road came out, I was like, oh, I wonder what a modern day... using all the technology, Mad Max movie would be like. And I was like, holy shit, it's better than I imagined. It's just craziness start to finish.
My wildest dreams have been imagined.
And that's what happens here. And you know what I found about this movie? This one, Furiosa, there wasn't a moment I wasn't interested in it.
Oh, me too. I was totally into it.
Yeah, it wasn't the type of movie where you're like, oh, come on, get to the point. Or... do we have to have another action sequence? I was like, no, because every action sequence is fucking awesome. Like something will happen that you haven't seen before. You know, you'll be like, oh, what's special about this truck? Oh, that's what the back of it does. That kind of thing. Right. There's a lot of weird... And you said, if you're in this situation, you've got to be creative.
Yes.
Otherwise, somebody's going to screw you over.
If all you've got is what you got, I mean, there's no new... manufacturing of things apparently in this kind of, at least where we're at in these stories, right?
Yeah.
There's no car factory.
It's all
there's
scavenged from the old times.
And just weapons and gas and food. That's basically what this area of the world has boiled down to.
It's 2 hours and 28 minutes long, and Anna Taylor-Joy, who plays Furiosa, she doesn't really appear in it until about an hour and 10 minutes in. So the whole beginning sequence is this when she was a child and another actress plays her. And, you know, sometimes with that in movies, that little trope of I always like, oh, can we get to when they're an adult? But in this, I was like, no, I'm really into this because the kid and a mom and all that is...
It was really, very good.
Yeah, it's a whole story in itself. It's also split into chapters, this movie, like a book. or like a movie with chapters. And I think it was really effective because the actual name of the chapters was very like, oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, what's going to happen here? Because that is a suggestive chapter name. And you're usually not disappointed.
No, I like Beyond Vengeance.
Did you like Fury Road, or was it something?
I didn't understand why it was so highly rated by you and others. It was fine. I didn't have the big, oh my God, nostalgia Mad Max situation in my brain. So
right. And Tom Hardy put you off.
Oh, yes, majorly. I didn't like his thing at all. And, you know.
I mean, you have nothing against Tom Hardy, but.
I don't know if I do or not. I didn't like that because I don't like the most. See, what if I did a podcast where I did and everything is said?
I don't know what you're saying.
Exactly. And if anybody thinks that's cool or realistic, well, guess what? In life, I enunciate, motherfuckers.
Yeah, but Mad Max doesn't. He's in a hard time. Well, everybody else does, I guess.
Everybody's yes. There is no one untouched by trauma in this story at all.
For the first one, you could see that.
I was like, it's action. I'm not a big fan of elongated action scenes where it's sort of like, okay, we saw the guys on the poles, we're going to blow shit up and it's going to be whatever. And then the little speedy uppy of the screen, of the camera or this, whatever it's called. Okay. It just felt a bit.
Mm-hmm. So did you like this one better?
This one, I really enjoyed all of it. I love the action. I love the story. I feel like I was getting into understanding how this person, Furiosa, in this world could be forged. And sadly, part of the forging of her character is the one asshole who does away with her mother and then like pats himself on the back for doing it because it makes her tougher. And sadly, it does, right? So you have, but then there's no doubt in my mind that she would have been equally as tough because her mother was kick-ass and she was teaching her to be tough, right? Because they live in a place, so they're from a place of what they called abundance, Furiosa and her mother.
Yeah,
it's protected. All the assholes don't know where it is, but she's out and far enough away where then all of a sudden one of the bad guys' men find her and then she won't tell them where it is. So she's from a place where they've kind of figured it out, apparently, right? The food and
water.
Protection.
Yeah,
yes. And so I think she would have been tough enough. But this guy thinks, oh, look how great I am. I did horrible things to you. So now you're really tough in the world. And then that does serve her well. So it's and then the bad guy, Thor, he kind of fills you in on the thinking of what is.
Thor's not in this, by the way. It's Chris Hemsworth, who plays Dementus, the bad guy.
Right. Isn't he Thor?
He is Thor, but I thought it's not a crossover movie.
No, he's not being Thor, but the guy who played Thor.
He's being...
That his mind is, again, from history, men have tried to pretend that the horrible, wretched things they do to salvage the world and teach everyone good lessons. He's that guy. Like, he's got the philosophy, he's got the art, he's got the history, he's got some compassion-ish, but it's only to his benefit that he can use it. When he rescues her, it's not for her, it's for him. And it's an interesting character. I was impressed with that one.
With Dementus.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's...
he's horrible, but also, yes, I get how a person could be conflicted.
He rides a Roman chariot pulled by 3 Harley-Davidson motorcycles.
That he can control.
Yes. With nobody on them. Yeah. He's like the horses. I really enjoyed. I thought it was cool where he's basically, it looks like he's wearing a shower curtain as a cape. I mean, I don't know. No,
it's a parachute.
A parachute as a cape,
it's
right?
A parachute, yeah.
And then if you've seen Fury Road, those things they fire into the air, what do they call them?
Emergency flare.
Yeah, and they go up in cool colors. Well, one of his guys fires one at the floor and it colors his cape red for the rest of the movie. It was just a cool, like a stupid thing, but like a cool thing.
Yeah, he's kind of adult as well, as you would say. He's a bit dumb, and so he's turned on a little bit by the look of himself and how
with his pierced nipples and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ow. Nipples also. Ow. If you don't like nipple pain, this movie might not be for you. Ow.
Well, they're not going to hurt your nipples.
No, there is some nipple pain in this movie. In a scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
It's pretty brief, so you don't have to worry too much about it. But
I winced badly. It's violent. Yes.
Yes.
It's action-packed. It's got cool music. It actually borrows a lot of the music from Fury Road, which makes sense. Because it's kind of the music where it's like tribal drums almost and gladiator-ish type music, orchestral. It really works well when they're just like, driving these crazy vehicles through the desert. And the desert, when you said earlier, it's like really flat. Well, they use a lot of hills in this one, like sand dunes.
Yeah.
And they jump over them. And Dementus is in a monster truck at some points where he just drives up like surfaces where you're like, how could you even get up there? And he just drives straight up them. So it's full of cool stunts. I thought the story was awesome. I mean, it is a basic story like Fury Road. There's not a ton to it.
I mean, it's just assholes who want to rule the world, and they've got their little toys and their weapons and the things that they can use against the population.
Yeah.
Like food and violence. And it's just who's got the bigger toys and whose method, whose leadership thing that they do is going to win out. I mean, that's the story, and that's really every story.
Yeah. George Miller's got such a style. And one thing I noticed was when I saw something really weird, perverted, awkward, odd looking, and I was like, oh, that's really fucked up. I bet I'll never see anything as weird as that again. And then in the next scene, I'm like, what the fuck is that over there? Or, the costumes they're wearing, or just some weird shit going on in the background in this place that they're in. Or how about the room full of maggoty leg people? Let's say.
God.
Dead people.
I don't wince very often, but I was like, oh my God. And when she cut her own arm.
Yeah, just when you think you've seen it all, you haven't. You see something else where you're like, oh, that is really...
And yet it's still limited gore. It's like...
You're right, it's not...
You see the maggots on a foot, but I mean, and it's all...
It's not a splatter thing, is it? It's like, even when you see people like fall off a truck and like land and their head gets like crushed, it's quick. It doesn't linger on it or anything. Well, it's not for the children, let's say.
No, my God. Oh my goodness.
All right, let's get on to the cast. Anna Taylor-Joy plays the adult Furiosa. What do you think?
Amazing.
She is really good. I like
both of them. The child and her, both amazing.
Yeah, the child's played by Alia Brown.
Yeah,
she plays
I could
young.
watch them both all day.
Yeah, and they do this thing where she grows up throughout the movie, and then they kind of merge them together. So, because they don't look like each other, right? So if they didn't do that... Well,
they do. Because they put the facial stuff on her. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of cool how they do it. Chris Hemsworth plays Dementus. At first, I was like, is he a bit much?
You reckon?
And then as he slowly got into, I was like, no, I understand him now. And of course he's a bit much. He has to be. Otherwise he'd be dead. Right?
I mean, he doesn't have to be terrible.
He doesn't,
but he chooses to be. Yeah.
His vibe.
Yeah.
And, he's Mr. Showman, charm and charisma, but also a horrible asshole at the same time. I think he played it really well. He wasn't being Mr. Thor.
No.
I mean, he's muscly with long hair and a beard, but it wasn't Thor at all. It wasn't a second where I was like, oh, it's Thor. I mean, I know the actor's Thor, but they put like a weird nose on him, right? Like,
yep.
That was what made him. So sometimes you're like, is that Thor? I'm not sure. We've got Tom Burke as Praetorian Jack. Explain who this character is. He's interesting.
He's Mad Max, but another one.
Yeah, basically, right?
He's basically a doc. So Mad Max is on the hunt to be, what is he even? What is Mad Max?
He's just like a wandering guy.
Is he a mercenary? Stuff. Or is he just trying to survive?
He'll do whatever for money. Yeah.
Well, this guy is drives the truck for the bad guys between the different points.
Because he's really good at it.
Right. So he's driving a semi-truck, essentially. He's a truck driver who drives the bullets to the guy and the food to the other guy and the water to the other guy and the gas to the other guy. That's him. And he's kind of mostly in not cahoots, but he's working for the Bane, the other Tom.
Yeah, and driving a truck from one place to another is not simple in this world because everybody is going to try and stop you, right?
True that.
So you have to have a very special set of skills.
Wrong movie.
Yeah, and Praetorian Jack definitely has that. And she digs him, right?
And not at first. I think it's just sort of like, we need to serve each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're both out here. He realizes that she's tough and dangerous and useful.
Yeah.
And they kind of, it's not like a love story.
No, it isn't.
It just is what it is. Like,
he really helps her out. And he doesn't ever want to like control her because he's like, no, you don't know. You can go, leave, whatever, right? He's never like, oh, please
after
stay.
a while, but I think his main thing was, you could be useful to me.
Right.
And also, we don't know his story, but he kind of like identified with her on some level.
So we've got that guy. He's basically a Mad Max type guy. We've got Anshali Fraser as Mary Jabassa. She's the mother of Furiosa.
Awesome. My favorite thing in the whole movie.
I mean, that whole opening sequence with her with the sniper rifle.
Insanely good.
Is very good, yeah. It sets it up because I'd kind of forgotten how awesome the visuals of Mad Max is. And then that started and I was like, whoa, this is cool. And I was in already, right at the beginning. Directed by George Miller. He directed the movies. He directed a lot of movies, but he directed Happy Feet. Do you remember that one?
I never saw that one.
Just like Mad Max, very similar.
Very similar, I'm sure.
Babe, very similar.
I've seen that. You have not.
No, Babe, Pig in the City. Very similar to Mad Max. 3,000 Years of Longing, which was the last one we saw by him. I kind of liked it, and you liked it for a while and then didn't like it.
I didn't love the point of it.
Right.
And I didn't appreciate it.
It was an Idris Elba movie.
And what's her face? We always forget.
Yes, that lady. But he's made all kinds of different movies over the years. And his next movie is another Mad Max movie. So I'm into George Miller. He's good. The direction of these two, this Fury Road and this, it's top notch. It's like you're watching the most top notch action movie. There's nothing cheap about it.
I mean, there are some, you think you're a little blinded by love, which is great. I benefit from that. There are times with some really bad body CGI.
Yeah, but it's quick enough for me to...
so you notice it, you just want to ignore it.
But the stunts, the camera moves, the way it's lit, how sharp and cool it's all very good looking. I mean, it looks as good as Fury Road, I think. And that wasn't a slacker, was it?
No.
So IMDB reviews, what are those?
Those are reviews on IMDb that people don't like the movie and you like to make fun of them. So.
I mean, who wouldn't like this movie? I mean, there's probably somebody, right?
Yes, there's going to be because you're about to tell us.
First guy says, Miller has gotten senile in his old age. It's insane how good the reviews are for this Furiosa movie, but it's terrible. Too much CG and green screen makes it feel cheap. Too many scenes like video game. Many generics and badly miscasts.
Too many generics.
And badly miscasts.
Like store brand ketchup?
Yes.
Okay.
Second guy says, rubbish.
Rubbish.
Disappointing prequel that fails to live up to Fury Road. Furiosa is all action and no heart. The characters are bland, forgettable. The action sequences are not impressive at all. The film suffers from awful acting and pointless action.
Okay. Thanks for your input.
And number 3 says, I'm baffled by the high ratings for this movie. I read the reviews here and wondered if I watched the same movie as these other IMDb users. I've never even written a review of a movie. This is my first, just to warn folks to not waste their money on this cheap-looking film. It's actually the opposite of a cheap-looking film.
Do people actually not watch movies because of what people like us say?
I do not know.
Do you?
No.
Me either. I think that's weird.
Whatever anybody says, I have to watch it myself.
Yeah. And I've had people say, yeah, but I have only so much time in my life and I don't have all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So I need someone to tell me. Well, I mean, the deal is, if you're letting someone else think for you just so you can save time, I feel like
it doesn't even make sense.
Don't watch anything then. Like, I mean, just get on with other things.
If you can't be bothered watching it, but you want somebody to tell you if it was good or not, why even waste time on that part?
Yeah, exactly.
Do something completely different.
Yeah, exactly. If you're so busy in your life, I get.
I mean,
we're being snotty, but yeah, I've heard people say that, and I just think, just watch it. It's 2 hours of your life.
Watch it or don't.
Yeah, true.
And when it comes down to reading other people's views on it, don't do that either. Because why does that matter if you're not going to watch it?
Good point. All good points.
Yeah. So extras, there are extras on this disc, actually. It's the 4K disc that they sent us. It's got special features, which is very difficult to look at when I've got a poorly arm.
Oh.
But I'll tell you anyway.
Here's one of the things about your arm, and I did say this almost immediately. Well, I'm glad it's not your right arm.
True. It's my left arm.
Yeah.
But I'll suffer.
It's suffering. I get it. But I mean, that's the one good thing. And you have me and I take care of you kind of, but you kind of take care of yourself. So.
What I mean is I'm going to suffer for my art by telling you what these special features are because I have to lift it up with my left arm.
Oh.
All right. You get Highway to Valhalla in Pursuit of Furiosa. You get Furiosa Stowaway to Nowhere, Metal Beasts and Holy Motors, Darkest Angel, Anna Taylor-Joy as Furiosa, Motorbike Messiah, Chris Hemsworth as Dementus. So there's a bunch of special features on there.
Nice.
And you can watch them at your leisure if you get the 4K disc. So, in conclusion, I'm going to give Furiosa a Mad Max Saga. That's the actual name of the movie. A score. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Oh my, that's very high. But I'm going 7.7, so 7.7.
I would give Fury Road a 9.
I see.
So, and they're pretty close, you know?
I'm not questioning your numbering system, but some people might be a bit shocked to know that for you, Magnolia is a 10.
Yeah, my favorite
and Mad
movie.
Max Fury Road is a 9.
Yes.
I mean, they're very divergent. That one didn't get a 9 or a 10. Diverse movies. And yet it's your experience with the movie that you rate it upon.
Yes.
I know you. I know how it works.
So thank you to Warner Brothers. Next week, we're going to look at the movie Longlegs.
Oh, is that about spiders or is it?
You'll find out next week.
I guess.
I'll say it's from the movie studio Neon.
Okay.
Who brought you, the car.
Oh, okay.
So could be crazy. Who
Could
knows?
be crazy.
Movie recommendations. I am going to give you Anna Taylor-Joy was in a movie. This is the first time I'd ever seen her, and I was like, this girl is badass. And it was a movie called The Witch from A24.
That was a long time ago.
A long time ago, and it was right at the beginning of A24's movies. And it's awesome. And then when I thought of The Witch, I thought of this movie. Well, actually, this movie, I thought Chris Hemsworth was in it, but it isn't him. It's Aquaman guy, Jason Momoa. But it's called The Bad Batch.
Oh, yeah.
And it reminds me of Mad Max. It's got this wasteland, weird shit going on. You know, it feels like it's in this, it actually feels like it's in the same world.
The Bad Batch will make you go, what? Is that just?
It will.
Did that just happen?
So,
and also Jim Carrey is in it, and
it's bananas.
Who else?
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're watching it and you're like, what is happening? What is this?
Why it's got a similar bleak but hopeful thing.
Yeah.
That this movie, we have our main character, one of our main characters even mentions that in this, that people don't operate on hope. They operate on like revenge and being broken. But all of these movies do have that thread of, but without hope and like the weird quirkiness of how we survive as people, then all the dark, bleak war and stuff, it just burns itself out, right? There's nothing to fuel it. So.
Exactly.
So mine are 5 movies from the 20th century. That's from 1900 to 1999. And these are, I'm guessing dramas that I picked from the list of movies I've seen. This is not about quality. This is about quantity. I'm just telling you all the movies I've ever seen. St. Elmo's Fire, which at the time of course, I loved because I was of that age.
Yes.
And then Single White Female, not great, but at the time I was like, whoa. So it was just like unusual to have women as like the pro and the antagonist, all the stuff. Again, it wasn't great. I wouldn't watch it again. Max Dugan Returns, which is one of those dramas that's kind of quirky. It's like a theatrical, sort of like a play almost, kind of, story. It's hard to, if you've ever seen a lot of plays, you'll know what I mean. And then there's the Omega Man, which is old and is basically what was the Will I Am Legend? It's that story, but it's got, what's his name? Vincent Price.
Oh, yeah.
Long time ago. I believe that was Omega Man. The Omega Man. It's old, but yeah, that's it.
All right.
Watch them all at your leisure. Watch them with your phone in your hand. I don't care. Just don't watch them while you drive a vehicle.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Ascully stuff this week. I've been playing a game called Starship Troopers Extermination. Have you heard of Starship Troopers?
I have.
Yeah, well, it's set in the world of Starship Troopers.
All right.
It came out some time ago, but I requested a key to review it, and they took about a year to send me a key, which was really weird. I was like, "What? Hey, hold on, this game came out a year ago. Why did I get a key today? Must have came across some keys under the desk or something." So I tried it on Steam. It's actually out on Steam and Xbox Series X and S and PlayStation 5, and it's a multiplayer cooperative Starship Troopers game. And it's Unreal Engine 5 first-person view. So it's like, like Call of Duty or Halo. You've got your gun. You're one of the Starship Troopers. They drop you down onto a planet. And then you and some friends have to hold off the swarms of bugs. And if you've ever seen the movie, it's not an easy job.
No.
And it's got that sense of humor that the actual movie's got. It's got like little interstitials, you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
There's different types of bugs. There's different types of guys. So if you're into like sniping, you can be the sniper. If you're into being a medic, you can do that. And you can take a class and be that. So if you're not super into shooting, you might have to shoot a few things. You can be a medic and heal up the rest of your team while they're doing the work. So it has that kind of multiplayer angle to it. And there's also a single player portion of the game, which they added that recently. And the guy, do you remember the guy who played Johnny Rico in the original movie?
Not sure.
It's called Casper Van Dien, that guy. He actually voices the character that you play as.
Right.
So it's full on like, this is a proper Starship Troopers game. And in this single player mode, you play as General Rico. It's like after the movie, I guess. And it's similar to what you do in multiplayer, but it's like you've got missions that you have to do. It's also got music, which is very similar to the music in the movie, if you remember that. If you're into the Starship Troopers thing, it's like playing Starship. It's like you're in Starship Troopers. It's cool. It's a multiplayer shooter, single player bit. It's got DLCs that you can get to add on to the story. And it's available now. Cidtalk, what's for dinner?
Tonight we're going to have pot pies. That's just frozen pies. We're vegetarian, so we tell you what we eat because people think that it's weird. It isn't, because in this movie, there was human blood pudding. So,
oh, yes, there was.
Yeah. So we're not opposed to that. If that in the future everyone agrees and that's what you want to do, you go for it. We're not vegan, just vegetarian. So we're going to you have a plant-based, what is like a beef substitute pie.
I have no idea what I'm really eating. It's just like little blocks of
and
stuff.
We don't care. And mine's a broccoli and cheese and rice, I think. It's really good.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then my advice is, considering things, I don't know that I've mentioned this, but in the last, about a year ago, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer and chose not to do any treatment. And she's 83 years old almost. And it's just a whole thing. That's a whole thing. So over the course of the year, just observing, she's fine at the moment. Things are changing, progressing, as the doctor says, but she's up and fine. And at this time, but as my siblings and I have 3 siblings, 2 sisters and a brother, over time, we will be available more and more. And you're caretaking, you're observing and caretaking. And with you hurting your hand, there is even that puts and I have had surgeries where you have taken care of me, and my mom obviously has taken care of me in my life. And then when you're down and someone's caring for you, it's almost like me, when I've had a surgery, your entire day becomes about if I'm comfortable, if I'm fed, if my pain is bad, if I need something. Even if in that moment I don't, you're thinking about it, right? When you're caring for someone, that becomes everything. Even it's just sort of like a vacuum, like everything goes to that.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be, because I've cared for other ill people, my grandfather, and was there a little bit when my father was ill at the end of his life, not as much as my brother, but they need you more than you need to do your thing, right? That's just a reality, and it's tough. It's a tough situation. But when you are caring for someone, even like this week with your hand, I haven't been at your beck and call or anything because you're very stubborn and independent.
Thanks.
But when you say can you do my hair tie for me? Because you have long hair and you couldn't get your fingers to work. I'm there for you. So that little thing, and then plus making sure just make the teas for you as you need it and whatever. Go to the store and get the ice pack and all that jazz. And what you find is even on this level where you're capable of doing everything, it's just the little bits and pieces, like chopping up some of the food for supper, which you insisted on cooking. And yet you, as the caretaker person, you are available now. You have handed over the time of your life, right, and your motion and what you're doing in this world for the other person's care. And that's great. It's just that it doesn't mean you shouldn't be also taking care of yourself. And this is very difficult because if it's a situation like your arm, we know it's going to get better. It's not like it's going to progress to be better. And there will be a time in a month from now when you're like, oh my God, I can't believe my arm. We have pictures. You'll be like, oh my God, my arm looked terrible, right? I've recovered from all my surgeries and other things. Something like where my mother is ill, it's not going to be like a trajectory of oh, one day it's just going to be gone and everything will be fine. And so you have to find a way to not let that erase you, even though it seems absolutely impossible. And I have not been in every situation, so I don't know every situation. So I understand that there's going to be ones where you're like, well, you can't take care of yourself if you're caring for a person in this situation. Okay, well, I haven't been there, so I have to accept that. But there have to be moments where you say, enough is enough. And right this minute, I'm taking a deep breath and I'm playing my game on my phone, or I'm going to go watch a movie, or I'm going to sit here and meditate for 10 minutes if that's all I've got at the side of a hospital bed, holding someone's hand, or you know what I'm saying? Whatever the moment is, you have to find a little crack to drip your own self into. And, you've got to, in this movie, she had a seed that she had to plant to grow the future. You have to be able to think, oh, you have a future as well. And you need to take care, even if it's a little sliver. You just have to do it. And that is all.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Cidtalk. Very well said.
I don't know. I think I got the point across.
All right, ascully.com, that's the place you can get this podcast. Twitter and Facebook and Instagram are social networks where you can see us. You can actually see my dodgy arm if you want. There's a photograph of it on X/Twitter.
Oh, you did put it out there? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's gross looking. It looks like I've chopped a dead arm and put it on a table.
It does. It looks a little corpsey, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. So you can check that out. You can also check this podcast on ascully.com, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Email feedback to me, ascully@ascully.com. Do not email Cidtalk. She doesn't want your email.
I'm busy taking care of him.
And stay classy, Mr. George Miller. And he's going to bring us some more Mad Max, so I'm happy.
And I'm going to say, think for yourselves, because if you're not doing it, someone's doing it for you.